Inscryption has a number of infinite combos and loops throughout its various acts, as well as in Kaycee's mod, and in this video I'll be demonstrating all of the ones that specifically result in infinite attack. And the criteria for an infinite combo is going to be one that has both an engine and a payoff. The engine being the combo to achieve the payoff, and the payoff being a way of getting a card to a potentially infinite attack stat. So starting with Act 1, the first combo is going to be using the Ouroboros as the payoff card, as Ouroboros has the hidden ability to permanently increase its stats by 1 every time its unkillable sigil is activated. So with that ability, if you have an engine to let you summon and sacrifice the Ouroboros as many times as you want, then you could increase its attack and health to whatever number you want. This combo is one of the easiest to pull off in the game because you really only need one card besides the Ouroboros itself, as it works as part of the engine as well. The other card you'll be needing is a black goat with the unkillable sigil. With those two cards, you can summon the black goat, then sacrifice it to summon the Ouroboros. Then the black goat will respawn in your hand due to the unkillable sigil, and you can sacrifice the Ouroboros to summon the black goat again. Then the Ouroboros will respawn in your hand with its stats increased, and then you can repeat that loop as many times as you want, with the Ouroboros increasing its attack and health by 1 each time you complete the loop. The next combo uses the Hand Tentacle card as the payoff, as it has a special attack sigil that increases its attack by 1 for every card in your hand. So if you could create an engine that could infinitely create more cards in your hand without losing cards from your hand, then you could increase the attack of the Hand Tentacle, and in a recent video I tested this combo and found that Inscryption doesn't seem to have any limit to the number of cards that you can have in your hand at once, so there's no limit to this combo. To create an engine to pull this combo off, you'll need to be able to repeatedly summon a card with one of the sigils in the game that spawns new cards in your hand, those being Rabbit Hole, Ant Spawner, or Fecundity. So adding one of these sigils to a card that is part of a similar engine used for the Ouroboros, that being 2 cards that have unkillable and can be sacrificed for each other over and over, you can make as many cards in your hand as you want and power up the Hand Tentacle. The easiest way to do this with the fewest cards and sigil transfers needed would probably be by having that unkillable black goat again, and then just putting one of the card creating sigils on the Ouroboros, and then you'll be doing both of the combos at the same time. And then the last combo from Act 1 is going to be the Mirror Tentacle combo. This one is really unique as it doesn't really use an engine, but rather just a specific combination and placement of certain cards and sigils. And also, this is the only automatic loop in the game, so you don't have to be sacrificing cards over and over manually to get a really high attack stat. And therefore, this combo gains attack much faster than any of the other ones. However, this combo also requires a specific card to be on Leshy's side of the board, that being a Mirror Tentacle, and I think the only time that this can even happen in Act 1 is if the trader boss just so happens to have one. But there is an alternate version of this combo that you can do in Kaycee's mod that doesn't rely on RNG giving Leshy a Mirror Tentacle, but we'll get to that when we get to Kaycee's mod. To do this version of the combo, both you and Leshy have to have a Mirror Tentacle facing each other, and then a card with the Leader Sigil has to be placed next to one of them. What happens then is the Mirror Tentacle being buffed by the Leader Sigil gains 1 attack point. Then the opposite Mirror Tentacle also increases its attack by 1 with its Mirror Attack Sigil. Then the first Mirror Tentacle adds another attack to itself, since the first attack point it has is from the Leader Sigil, and the second is from it reflecting the other Mirror Tentacle's attack. Then the other Mirror Tentacle gains another attack to reflect that, and so on. Now, in order for this combo to actually do anything, you would also have to put the Airborne Sigil on your Mirror Tentacle so that it actually attacks Leshy. Because if it attacks and destroys his Mirror Tentacle, then all of the attack gain goes away. Also, I thought I would mention that when I tried this combo in a previous video, the game eventually crashed, but stay tuned because there's another version of this combo in Kaycee's mod that's even better. But first, let's move on to Act 2, starting with the Ouroboros again. It's in Act 2 as well and works the same way, but the engine for getting infinite sacrifices in Act 2 is a bit different, and there are multiple different engines that you could use. The easiest is with the Pharaoh's Pets card. which has both the Worthy Sacrifice sigil as well as the Many Lives sigil. So you can just keep using that to summon the Ouroboros, and you can use the hammer to destroy the Ouroboros, respawning it in your hand and increasing its stats. Another engine would be using the Tomb Robber card, which has an activated sigil that costs 1 bone token to create a skeleton in your hand. So if you have 2 bone tokens, you can create 2 skeletons to sacrifice in order to summon the Ouroboros, and of course sacrificing the skeletons will get those bone tokens back, so you can reuse them to make more skeletons, and again you can just use the hammer to recycle the Ouroboros. So just keep creating and sacrificing skeletons with the Tomb Robber. And one more infinite sacrifice engine in Act 2 would be using the Energy Conduit card and the Steel Mice card. So the Energy Conduit, when the circuit is completed with another conduit card, makes it so that you essentially have infinite energy, which makes it a great engine for all of the infinite combos in Act 2. But for the case of infinite sacrifices, you would summon the Steel Mice card, which has the Fecundity sigil, and so would create a copy in your hand. And since you have the Energy Conduit, you would be playing the Steel Mice for free, and so you would summon the second Steel Mice, sacrifice both of them for the Ouroboros, and then hammer it, then summon more Steel Mice, and repeat that as much as you want. The next combo is with the Stim Mage, which has another activated sigil which increases its stats by paying energy. So again, using the Energy Conduit as an engine to have infinite energy, you could just keep activating the Stim Mage's sigil over and over again for free, and increase its stats to whatever you want. And although Stim Mage and all of the other payoff cards don't have their attack buffs kept outside of battle like the Ouroboros does, these combos can still be very useful for farming up foils to use to buy cards in packs, or for getting that one achievement. Lastly, for Act 2, we have 2 cards with the exact same payoff sigil, that being an activated sigil that pays bone tokens to increase the card's stats. And those cards are the Bone Heap and the Gourmage, with the only difference between them being that you have to summon a green Mox card before you can summon the Gourmage. But then after it's summoned, you can just get rid of the green Mox with the hammer to free up space for the engine. And since we're paying with bone tokens this time, we need an engine that can generate infinite bone tokens. Any infinite sacrifice engine could also do this, since every time you sacrifice a card, you also get a bone token. But a more direct way would be by using the Bone Lord's Horn card, which has another activated sigil which creates 3 bone tokens for the price of 1 energy. And so by setting up the Energy Conduit once again, you can activate the Bone Lord's Horn's sigil for free over and over again, creating the bone tokens to spend on the Gourmage or Bone Heap's sigil to buff their stats. Another engine for infinite bone tokens uses the Tomb Robber card again, this time in combination with a card called Necromancer, which has a sigil that makes it so that your cards die twice, for some reason, which essentially makes it so that every time you lose a card, it nets you 2 bone tokens instead of just 1. So every time you pay 1 bone token to make 1 skeleton with the Tomb Robber, then destroy that skeleton with the hammer, the Necromancer makes it so that you get 2 bone tokens. So with these 2 cards, you can turn 1 bone token into as many as you feel like. And then you can spend those bone tokens on increasing the stats of Bone Heap or Gourmage, and that'll do it for Act 2's infinite combos. Act 3 really only has one way of getting infinite attack, and that is with the Ourobot, which works the same way as the Ouroboros, except this time it costs 6 energy instead of 2 blood. So to infinitely loop its attack, we'll need an engine to create infinite energy. And unlike in Act 2, there is no Energy Conduit in Act 3, so we'll need to get creative. Literally, because the way to do this is by creating the engine yourself with the Card Creator event. You'll need to make your card have no cost and have both the Unkillable sigil as well as the Battery Bearer sigil, which gives you 1 energy when the card is played. Since the card has no cost, every time you play it, you'll net 1 energy, and since it has Unkillable, you can just hit it with the hammer to respawn it in your hand, and then play it again to get another energy, and so on until you have 6. Then you would play the Ourobot and hit it with the hammer as well to respawn it in your hand with increased stats. Then summon the created card, which I named Not Good, another 6 times. So it's a pretty long loop, needing to summon and hammer Not Good 6 times and Ourobot once just to complete one loop and increase Ourobot's stats by 1. But if it makes you feel any better, you can also put the Gift Bearer Sigil onto the created card so that it keeps giving random cards that you could also use. So we're on to Kaycee's mod, which added quite a few new infinites, and is making this video very long. So first is the Red Heart, which has a new attack sigil that makes the card's attack equal to the number of sacrifices made during the turn. So with any infinite sacrifice engine, like 2 1-blood cards with Unkillable, you can keep sacrificing and keep increasing Red Heart's attack. Next is the Lammer, which has an attack sigil that makes its attack equal to half the number of bone tokens that you have. And the way to make infinite bone tokens in Kaycee's mod is just by, again, having an infinite sacrifice engine, just like for the Red Heart or the Ouroboros. Another combo uses a new sigil added to Kaycee's mod called Bloodlust, which makes it so that the card with it gains 1 attack every time it destroys one of Leshy's cards by attacking it. Now, that relies on Leshy having cards for you to fight, and he only summons a limited number of cards, so it seems like you can't really do this combo infinitely. However, another new sigil added to Kaycee's mod makes it possible. That sigil is the Brood Parasite sigil, which summons a Broken Egg card to Leshy's field, giving you something to attack, although you would need a way to infinitely summon the card with the Brood Parasite sigil, and you would also need to give your Bloodlust card the Bifurcated sigil so that it can attack the eggs rather than attacking Leshy, since you can't place the eggs in front of your attacker, but you can place them next to it. In total, you'll need a card with Bloodlust and Bifurcated and at least 1 attack to start with, and you'll also need 2 cards that have Unkillable and can be sacrificed for each other, and one of those 2 cards needs to have the Brood Parasite sigil, and one of them also has to have 0 attack so that it doesn't attack Leshy and end the battle. Unlike every other combo, this one gains attack over multiple turns, since you need to battle and attack Leshy's creatures in order to get the attack gain. So you need to ring the bell in order to attack, and that also ends your turn. And as the battle goes on and turns pass, eventually you'll run out of cards, and then Leshy starts to summon Starvation cards, which would make this combo end and therefore once again not infinite. However, there is one situation that fixes this problem and does allow this combo to be infinite, although it also makes it entirely pointless, because that situation is after beating the Moon or the Limoncello, because at that point, Leshy will not summon Starvation even if you run out of cards. But there's also no reason to be increasing attack at that point because you've already won. But it is technically an infinite combo. It's just the worst one. But we'll be ending this video with the best infinite combo in the game, and it's actually a combination of 2 separate combos. The first being the Infinite Sacrifice engine combined with another Kaycee's mod exclusive sigil, the Morsel sigil. Morsel makes it so that its card's stats are added to a card summoned by sacrificing it. So if Morsel is placed on a card that also has Unkillable and at least 1 attack point, you could keep summoning it and sacrificing it, and each time the stats would be added to the newly summoned card. But if you combine this combo with the Mirror Tentacle combo, you can really test the limits of Inscryption like we did in that previous video. So, taking the same Mirror Tentacle combo from Act 1, but this time in Kaycee's mod, where you can actually play both of the Mirror Tentacles yourself, and then give one to Leshy with the Wise Clock item, and also replacing the Airborne Sigil on our Mirror Tentacle with the Morsel Sigil and the Unkillable Sigil, we can let the loop play out for a bit, and then summon another 1-blood card with the Unkillable and Morsel Sigils, and then summon the Mirror Tentacle again, and at this point, the Mirror Tentacle's attack stats will be increasing faster than ever. Eventually, it even seems to loop back to 0, meaning that we've reached as close to infinite attack as we can in Inscryption. In that previous video, I couldn't figure out exactly how much attack that was, since the numbers on the cards were so small and the foils or teeth cap out at 999. But it turns out you can see the exact number at the results screen of the run, as it says how much the most amount of damage you did in a single turn was. It looks like I got 1,908,869,217, which means that the cap on attack in Inscryption is at least that number. Somewhere around there, perhaps. So that was all of the infinite attack combos in Inscryption, as well as many of the engines used to get them. I'm pretty sure that that was all of them, but if I missed any, please let me know in the comments, as well as what you think about the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.